So here's something you don't see every day. A pair of 1947 RCA 721 TS televisions. Um, both of these sets came from the same factory. It's funny to look at this because they were definitely on the same assembly line. You can see some of the things like the marking on the vertical transformer. Their serial numbers are 2,927 apart. So this one is serial number 65823. This one is 62896. This set is the one that's a little older, probably by about a week. I don't know how long it took them to make these. And we're in the process right now of refurbishing them. This one's all done. It's been running for a while. That one belongs in this cabinet here, the first one. And I'm using it sort of to make my life a little easier recapping this one. This set was untouched. It came in with an open B plus resistor in the power supply. Needed all the usual caps, the wax caps that are bad. Reform the electrolytics. There's always one electrolytic in these that's no good. What I do is rather than replace the whole can, I just do a standoff here and put the 3 sections on the standoff. Did the same thing with this one. This set here was a little different. Somebody tried to recap it already. It was kind of a mess, but not too bad. So I don't know what took it out. I can't tell. If you ever watch Shango66 on YouTube, he does an excellent job of evaluating a set before he works on it. And we do pretty much the same thing here. Put it on the Variac. Take the horizontal output tube out. Run it for about a minute. Bring it up slowly. Feel the outside of the electrolytics. Monitor the B plus on the way up. Again, see what took it out. Do a good visual inspection. And I try to get them running just to see what's what, just like Shango does. And then go in there and start recapping and things like that. You want to make sure that the set works. Obviously, before you do that, you're going to test the CRT. I use a B&K 467. Test all the tubes. I have a B&K mutual conductance tube tester. And then you go about the business of cleaning it and recapping it. I hope to get both of these working. Like I said, one of them works already. That's this one. Have them out and ready to go here. Nice pair of jugs there. And the cool thing about doing this is sometimes you get a little glimpse into the history of the television set. This set here had a tag in it from a person named Davidson in New Britain, Connecticut. The tag was from 1947. It was in for service. This set here had the person put his name in there. Martin Jansen wrote his name in the back of the set, and he wrote that he worked at CLMP. He actually wrote it in the back of the TV. CLMP was a Connecticut Light and Power Company. They're not here anymore. So you can only wonder some of the things that people watched on these from 1947. So certainly a lot of the early stuff, Burl, probably a lot of baseball, the 1952 Yankee World Series, if these were still running by then. The election of Dwight Eisenhower, the election of Truman in 1948. These are the very first sets. This is the second year of production for RCA. RCA began producing sets after the war in the fall of 1946. So these are early. These are within the first year, I would say. So stay tuned, and soon we'll have them running side by side, I hope. Kirk out. No surprise that the Kinney on the high hour set is not quite as good as the other one. In fact, it's a little bit of a slow warmer. We'll leave it on here for a little while and see if it improves. But given the fact that we saw tubes on this chassis that were from the late 50s, and the date code on this tube is the the 30th week of 1948, this tube was in service for quite a while. Oh, let's see how she shapes out. It was weak. So the 6SN7 that was bad was the vertical output and oscillator. I would say that this set definitely had some vertical problems. It was probably rolling, driving them nuts, or definitely shrinking picture. This set had the Kenny, was the 8th week of 1948, and all the signal tubes were the 13th week of 1948. What we can kind of take from that is that there was a 3,000 set difference between these two sets on the assembly line, and the one with the earlier serial number was the 13th week of 1948, and the one with the higher serial number was the 17th week of 1948. So you have a 4-week difference. They made 2,927 sets in between. So it's about a little under 1,000 sets a week. We can assume that the people on the assembly line were the same people that assembled both of these. So stay tuned. Kirk out. A little bit inform some of the caps now. What I like to do is bring this up slow on the Variac and monitor the main B plus line. On this, the main B plus line is 265 volts right here. And then we also have a negative 85 volts here. So I'm going to watch those two. And as I was bringing it up slowly, so there's the 265. And here's the minus 85. So these are good. And by the way, this is with the horizontal output tube disconnected out of the circuit. So you're going to bring your B plus up until you're able to achieve these two voltages. That doesn't mean it's going to be up all the way, because there's no load on it. The high voltage circuits, the sweep circuits, aren't running. So during the process of doing this, I found that one of the electrolytics was getting super hot, which was this one, which was actually on the SAMS C1. And it's a dual bank cap, so I had to replace it. And incidentally, I work with two prints. I have the SAMS print. SAMS prints always work from left to right, input, output. I like the RCA prints as well, and I use them side by side. When I was in electronics school in the 70s, we were taught to redraw circuits, to draw them so that we were looking at, you could tell how the circuit works, the input being on the left and the output being on the right. That served me very well later on in my career, because I actually did work for RCA Service for 4 years. And a lot of the times looking at their prints, I was able to quickly, just sometimes even in my head or on a piece of paper, redraw or just take a pencil and square out the circuit that we want to deal with. So that's just a little note. So getting back to this, so monitor the B plus on the way up. Make sure that we get B plus and B minus correctly. Okay, and any components that are giving trouble during that process, we're going to deal with them. In this case, this electrolytic. During the time that we do this, some people like to monitor the horizontal drive voltage on the horizontal output tube, and that's a good thing to do. That should be a negative voltage, negative maybe 20 or 30, depending on the set. Any tube set. It doesn't have to be this one. Okay. Again, this tube is not operating right now. The horizontal drive, where my dot is on the screen grid there, that's what operates the high voltage section, operates the sweep circuit. The horizontal oscillator is the heart of the sweep circuit here. So what we want to do is, I like to monitor that on the scope. And when I look at it on the scope, I also want to see that when I adjust my horizontal hole control, it shifts frequency a little, and it does. Okay. And I put a freak counter on it. Most modern scopes have one. My old scope doesn't have a freak counter. And it's not 15734 like it's supposed to be. And there's a reason for that. This is free running right now. That means it's not keyed. The sweep circuits are not operating, and I also do not have a signal going through this right now. So it's just free running. In other words, this is just showing you that the oscillator works, okay, that it's operating. If you don't have a properly operating oscillator, if it's way off frequency, this one's off a little bit. If it's way off frequency when you start out, you could damage the output tube. You start burning resistors, drawing a lot of current. Shango does a cool thing. He puts a milliammeter in series with the plate lead of the horizontal output tube. That's a good way to do it. Sometimes you can just monitor the cathode current on the horizontal output tube right here too. Either way, there's many ways to do the same thing correctly. So here we have a 1947 RCA 721 TS. Pretty low hour set. I described this in an earlier video. All the tubes were original in this set, and the CRT tested really good. Went through it, recapped it, didn't change any resistors that were out of tolerance. After you run these for a while, then the real problems start to show up. This electrolytic was getting really hot. Replaced that with a new old stock. And also the horizontal oscillator coil. The oscillator was drifting after an hour. It would drift to the point where you couldn't get it back in. Very common on these. These sets have no automatic frequency control, no automatic fine tuning, no automatic gain control. So once you get one of these running, you really have to run it for, days and days and days, and all the inherent problems will show up. And once you get them sorted out, though, and they can run, without any thermal intermittence, they work pretty good. If you want to tell if your oscillator's working right, see if you can snap it off and get 3 bars, and they sit there for, quite a while. That means your synchro guide is working okay, and that means you got it. So you can leave that like that and just let it run, because if you leave the picture on, sometimes it drifts off to the side. You can't tell if it's really off or not, but this is a good way to tell. And of course, the best way to tell is to monitor the drive waveform and monitor the frequency of the oscillator, which you can do on the grid of the horizontal output tube. Is a good place to get it. In fact, that's where that waveform comes from, the drive waveform. And you'll see when my synchro guide is out and I have the 3 bars, I'm off frequency just a little bit. When I bring it back in, it should jump right in immediately, which it does. 15,734, which it's being keyed at by the broadcaster. So there you have it. Running good, looking good. It's linear. I'm going to let it run for another day or so and put it back in the cabinet, which is over there. RCA TS721, second year for the run. This is the year that television really took off.